Super Dute Tough Work. They know.
Yup.
Back again. As per usual. Blueprint. Illogic. Doing what we do best, man.
Mm-hmm.
Creating things. Audio,
Getting
visual.
that content on, you know what I mean?
You know, the audio visual experience. We give you that every week. You know, audio for the people who listen to us on audio. YouTube video version for people who like that side of things.
Right.
We got all that. We got all that. I don't know what other formats we could possibly do, but this is probably it. Y'all got to just deal with this. You're not getting no more formats out of us.
Yeah, nah, this is it.
It ain't going to be in text form. We're not going to transcribe this shit. Sorry. But we're here, man. How you doing today, sir?
Good, man. You know, it's Ohio State, Michigan Day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about that. My brother, he went to the game, man. He in Michigan at the game.
Oh, wow. He went to enemy territory.
Nah, he a Michigan fan.
Oh, shit. I was about to say, he was a bold man to drive up there with some scarlet and gray on.
Nah, he a Michigan fan. So he tries to go every year that it's in Michigan.
Damn.
So he up there. We making plans to go to the one next year here.
Okay.
All the brothers going. So
Man, ain't they lost to Ohio State like 10 years in a row?
come on. You know what I'm saying? That's what I told him. I was like, you know, y'all looking okay this year, but y'all still ain't got it.
There's
you know?
levels. There's levels to this shit.
There's levels to this, you know? So, but yeah, I'm going over my other brother's house to watch the game.
Okay.
After we, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we are recording a little bit earlier today.
Just a touch.
Just a touch
earlier.
Yeah, I was surprised you woke up this early when you first requested to record this. I was like, is this man going to be up? Because sometimes you be running right up against the time when we crawling out of bed right before we usually record sometimes.
Nah, man, actually, like the last week or so, since I'm getting ready to start a new venture.
Yeah.
You know, I've been trying to make sure I'm up, 8, 9 o'clock, get my body right. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Because, I've been off. So, waking up 10, 11, noon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Going to sleep whenever,
up making beats till 4 a.m.
Right. That's dead now.
Yeah, not happening no more. So,
yeah, that's dope. So this week, folks, we talking about making career pivots. Some of you, those of you who follow me on the gram, saw a post I made this week about some shit I had been working on in the background on the lowest of lows, which was going to get my commercial driver's license, my CDL, from a local school out here. And I made a post, with some pictures and explanation of what's been going on Instagram. It's got a lot of good feedback, and I wanted to take time and want to do an episode about this because this is a ill concept for people like us who are artists. Many people, I've been a full-time artist for 20 years now.
mm-hmm.
And I love it. The ups that got its downs as well. But the last 2 years has definitely not been an up. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely in the down phase.
Right. When your entire industry is shut down, it's definitely not on the up, for a couple of years. So that's been where we're at. And some of that kind of went into my decision to do what I did and to get my commercial driver's license just so I could have more options moving forward. But we wanted to talk about that in this episode because we know there are many people here who aspire to be artists, full time. There are many people who have jobs and are trying to make that thing work, as we've done episodes about that. And a few months back, we made a statement on this episode. We were just like, dude, it's okay to work and make art. Like, it's fine. Like some people think that shit is like something to be ashamed of, and it's totally not. Like, not being able to survive is something to be ashamed of. You know what I mean? Like, you should be embarrassed by being fucked up out here. But
it almost makes the art better in some ways,
Yes.
As we pointed out, like a lot of cats that and love made some of their best art when they were working a job.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a lot of pressure, So, and
Yeah.
we'll get into that, being a full time artist and the pressure that's behind it, and just like having options. So, Illogic is gonna interview me and toss questions, and we're just gonna go back and forth about the whole thing, and you know, we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Word.
We got you stuck off the realness, the most infamous, you heard of us. Official podcast murderers, the show comes equipped with viewpoints to share. Grown man ideas for all those who care and wanna grow, so go ahead and download. Every single week with a brand new episode. You're not alone in this world, cousin, so we share information and honest discussion and keep repping the culture like we supposed to. They spread gossip, but they never come close to. I can hear it inside their tone. They talk about the industry but never left their home. You get laced up with bullet points and such, plus empowering topics that they never would touch. You can put your whole network against the team, but Super Duty Tough Work's the MVP. Most valuable podcast on MP3. Priceless info, but all of it's free. So take these words home and think them through. Super Duty Tough Work is coming at you. You are now listening to Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint. Raw and uncut. Adult conversations. No shucking, no jiving, and no bullshit.
All right, folks, we're back. Super Duty Tough Work. Blueprint. Illogic.
What up?
Doing what we do. Talking about life as we live it.
Mm-hmm.
In real time.
Real time.
What most artists would not do, would not say, would not talk about. We're going to talk about it today. And I hope this proves helpful to some of y'all. So I'm going to let Illogic get this thing started.
Word. So, so we, talking about career pivots. And this is a huge pivot, like some would even see you like, why is he doing this? So, in that vein, my first question is, what made you want to get your CDL of all things? Because you're, a lot of people that have been following you know that your background is in computer programming, and some people would have the mindset that, being a computer programmer is probably a more lucrative position.
Yeah.
Than driving a truck, getting your CDLs. What made you go into this field and, make that move?
It was a lot of reasons, man. And I definitely weighed all of them. When I first kind of started thinking about this, I started thinking about this maybe the beginning of the year. I started thinking because, as you and I know, we've had a lot of conversations about like just touring and are we seeing the signs that it's coming back? Are we seeing the signs that, make us think that that's going to be something that we can rely on? And, off air, I've had a lot of conversations about we're just not seeing it for artists at our level.
Right.
And so I knew at some point I probably would have to do something because, I have certain things going on outside of this, that are like, I can't just be fucked up, what I'm saying, out here waiting on tours and shit. So my decision, I really started out with like 4 or 5 things that I was thinking about getting into, and one of them was, I think I had like a list of 4 things. I was like, these are 4 things you could do that will get you in the position you want to be in if this stuff continues on the path that it is with music. One was content creation, right? You and I talked about this, like we are already creating content for ourselves every day, video content, audio content, we're music producers. We even graphic design, flyers. We do all of that stuff. We do social media management. That was something that was like on my list. Another thing that was on my list was, like you mentioned, going back into IT, into information systems. And I was thinking about that as well, simply because obviously that's my degree. That's what I did before I did music. And it's an environment that I kind of know. I understand that terrain a bit. Then another one I was thinking about was, there was another one I was thinking about. like independent insurance adjusting, just because of the speed of it and the freedom of it that you get with that. That was another thing I was thinking about. And then finally, the fourth thing I had on my list was, CDL. And, so I spent a few months, like just really just whiteboarding all four of these things out, and really, so I would take some time, I would read about them. I would maybe take a class or two in each of them to try to see where I'm at, see where my knowledge is at. Like with the content creation, I was taking some online courses with that. With IT, I started back reading and studying coding again. I did that for a couple months to where I was studying that and just seeing where I'm at and what my aptitude is and how I felt about going into it, and then the CDL thing, I went and met up with one of my guys I went to college with, who's been driving for like 7 to 10 years, I think. And so, and he's doing really well for himself. So, I talked to him maybe around April or March, went over his crib and just sat with him for a couple hours and just talked about, the paths that are laid out in trucking for you and seeing what's there. And so I sat with him, went back, and then that's when I started looking at everything. Ultimately, I came down to just like, okay, where do I want to be in 1 year? 1 year is really the goal for me. Like for 1 year from when I start to 1 year, what do the prospects look like for that versus the other? And, what a lot of people don't know is that people with their CDL right now make just as much, if not more, than people starting in IT.
Yeah, because just with the supply chain,
yes,
being what it is, people wondering why inflation is happening and things like that. There's a shortage, of truck drivers in every field, bus drivers, FedEx drivers.
Yep.
It's a shortage, so they're paying top dollar for cats that want to get into that field.
Yeah, and the perception is the opposite, right? Like most people, they don't. Driving trucks is not a sexy job.
Not sexy at all.
This is a very unsexy job. What we have, hip hop artists, this is a sexy job. This is the most sexy job, but it's the least reliable.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Driving trucks is the most unsexy job, but the most reliable. And so I really was looking at all of this. Same thing for content creation. Content creators don't make what truck drivers make.
Right.
I mean, they just don't. Not an entry-level content creator where you got to go work for a marketing firm and you're just getting started. Your first year, you're not coming in making what they're making over there.
But it's another sexy job, though.
Very sexy job.
It's very sexy. I'm on IG all day.
All day. You see the lifestyle. I got the camera. Yeah. It's very visible, but this is the conversation you start to have. And a lot of people fall into that. A lot of that is why people some may not understand why I chose this over IT or information. It's because I've already done the sexy jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have no desire for the sexy jobs. If anything, being a public figure like we are makes me more apt to want to do something that's unsexy and off the radar.
Yeah.
Because like, how this shit is, man. We are constantly in the public eye.
Right.
Constantly scrutinized. And there's something about going somewhere and never having to deal with that I find very appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have to keep no profile for nobody. All I got to do is take this thing from this place to that place and I get paid.
Yep.
The end.
Right. And you by yourself. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to deal with no politics, no. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't got to deal with no office stuff. You don't got to, bring something for the office party. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's none of that.
No, they don't care. Dog, trucking is set up in a way to where, like, truck drivers are so demanded. Like, these dudes switch jobs 3 months, 6 months regularly. They're never worried about that shit. And there ain't no politics when you need motherfuckers to work. The best employee in that industry is one who's reliable and safe.
Mm-hmm.
You safe, you gonna always be employed, And so I started looking at that. That played a role, because like, yeah, I do have a natural talent for, content creation as we do, because we do it every day. But I started looking at that, and then I just looked at like, what's the fastest path to be where I want to be in 1 year? It wasn't IT. It wasn't in information systems. Information systems, I would have been studying to try to take some certs in a year. Because remember, I've been out of it for 20 years.
Right.
It's going to take me a good year of study and really hard to be ready to get certified within a year. And even then, I don't see the salaries of that year just getting certified to try to get into it in a year as being the same as what I'm going to be starting at if I start driving in a couple weeks. No, it's not the same.
And that's the thing. Like, you're talking about getting certified to do a job in a year.
Right.
With trucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, you was in class for what? A month?
1 month.
And you could pretty much start working tomorrow.
Exactly.
If you wanted to,
Exactly.
And within a year, you were already making money and, leveling up in that year, as opposed to just trying to get certified and find a job still.
Exactly. And you still got to go through all of that interview process. If you're trying to code, you got to go through all these coding tests and all this other stuff. And there's no guarantee.
Right.
There's no guarantee. When I first started in IT and information systems, there was a shortage of people. You know what I mean? I got into it at the time when people were just now getting into it. I had mad job offers waiting for me when I graduated college. That's not the same for everybody in information systems right now. They don't just have job offers waiting on them as soon as they graduate. It's not like that. But in trucking, it is like that. In trucking, literally the moment I finished my test, 10 minutes later, by the time I adapt up my guys and hugged and yo, man, you passed it. Hey, I'm coming to the office real quick. Jobs waiting on me.
When you want to start, bro.
Right. That was the question. Wasn't no, hey, do y'all got anything for me? How's the industry? You got any resources? No. You ain't got to do none of that once you get your CDL. Like, I could literally start working tomorrow if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Making good money.
Yeah.
Now that I passed the test. And that's something that we don't have in hip hop. And that played into me doing it. I wanted to be in a field that was essential. 2 years of us sitting here as artists has really made me see that, like, what we do is not seen as essential. It gets shut down so quickly because whether it's the government, whether it's local officials, whether it's people, no one sees it as businesses that need to stay open.
Yeah. And it's dependent on the public. So with all of this stuff, that is happening as far as, this COVID thing, if the public ain't, if they're scared to come out, then that affects the bottom line.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's so volatile and dependent on so many other things. Whereas getting your CDL and just going to drive, whereas you in a van, in a truck by yourself, you ain't got to depend on, if people come out,
right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't got to depend on nobody else.
Nope.
Just, do you have something you need dropped off?
Yep.
Do you have something you need picked up? I'm your guy.
Yeah. Yeah, the freight is more dependable than anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And, some other stuff I saw, too, that went into my decision was I really just took like a step back. Sometimes you take a step back and you just be looking at all your friends who got the sexy jobs. Then you look at all the friends who got the unsexy jobs.
Yeah, who chilling? Who enjoying life right now?
Who living like I want to be living? And you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, some of that shit look good. But these guys over here, oh man, they gotta be doing a good, because all of them is, living like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I really had to be. I was like, yo, man, having a sexy job don't mean nothing, man, if you're not living, you know what I'm saying? If it doesn't allow you to live how you want to live or how you feel you should be living. Anybody can make a job look good, or you study something that's forward thinking, but it's like, but these guys over here got the most unsexy jobs, and it's done. Like they get off work and they're off work.
Yeah.
That wasn't true when I was in information systems. I didn't get to leave my shit at work like that. I had to dial in and be accessible and be on call and do support. And, you know, it wasn't like I was working 8 to 5.
Right.
In information systems. That's not the job either. So it's like, well, if I'm gonna work hard somewhere, let me do it in an environment that's a little bit different, you know, and that I know no matter what the hell go on, if they and you know, and it's got a path that's different than this, and it's more predictable. So that was what went into it.
Where now a lot of people probably, you know, thinking like, oh, I could drive a truck. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't seem like it's a difficult job.
Right.
It don't seem like, you know, because honestly, on some real shit, like, I've always thought like, oh, I could probably get my CDL, you know what I'm saying? Go drive a truck. You know, I've thought about this because I have family members that drive. My wife's father, he's a truck driver, has been one for years. My cousin, Mashawn, his father is a truck driver. So I've been around it for a little bit, and I've seen it, but I've never talked to him about it. But I just thought it was like, oh, you just, you know, get behind the wheel and you drive. You know what I'm saying? Like, to that misconception, because we've had conversations, like what's been, is truck driving difficult? And what do you think is the hardest, you know, like part of it, you know what I'm saying, that you've, you know, dealt with just in the learning process?
For number one, yes, truck driving is difficult. It's much more difficult than people think. That was definitely one of my observations. I never thought it was necessarily easy. I always thought, I was like, this got to be a challenge or else everybody would be flooding this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it ain't like that. But when I got into class, I mean, my background was information systems. There was another dude in my class who was studying information systems as well. He was studying it at the same time. He was having days in there where he was just damn near ready to cry and fight at the same time because he couldn't get the shit. Couldn't get the shit.
Yeah.
I had to call him. Bro, come down. You got this, man. You got this. I seen you do it. You know, he was like, man, no, I can't pass my test. It's too difficult. You know, he was mad because it's just not easy. The hardest thing about trucking is number one, the way it's taught is it's a 4-week course, and you cannot bullshit because pretty much they roll it out in phases where if you struggle with one phase, your struggling just adds up and you might not make it to the next phase. And there's tests after each phase, you know, so that makes it difficult there in and of itself. Then the other thing that makes it difficult is just, it's the way you think about driving a truck is like completely opposite of how you drive a car. So everything in your mind that you know about driving does not help when you're driving a truck. It makes you a worse truck driver. Right? So like, think about this, for example. In a car, the most important thing is going forward. You're driving a truck, the most important thing is reverse. Because your backing is the most important. Anybody can drive forward.
Right.
But remember, in a truck, you're not driving the tractor, you're driving the trailer. That's what's completely different. Driving a trailer is counterintuitive. When you're going to go right in a car, you steer right. When you're going to left in a car, you steer left, right? When you want the trailer to go right, you steer left. When you want the trailer to go left, you steer right. Backwards. It's opposite world. You know what I'm saying?
So you got to unlearn everything.
You got to unlearn a lot of things. There's just simple things that involve physics, and the fact that the trailer has this, it's like a pin. It's called the kingpin that sits on a pivot, right? And it swings around on this. This makes everything about turning different. If you want to, like, say you're close to something, right? You're close to someone's car, and you want to move away from that car. You would pull away, right? Like, say you're parking, you're like, I'm too close to this car. Let me get some space between my car and this car next to me. You would pull away, right? However, in a truck, you actually turn towards that thing, because when you turn towards it, you create more space for your trailer. Opposite.
Yeah.
In trucking, they call it turning towards the trouble. Turn towards your tightness. turn towards your tires. They have these sayings because they know when you're in a car, you just think all I got to do is go right and the whole car goes with me. It does. Yeah. But in a trailer, that doesn't happen. When you pull your trailer away, when you pull your tractor away, you got a trailer. Your trailer starts moving towards the thing that you're trying to get away from because it's on a pivot. It just starts. So pulling directly away from something, you can hit it with your trailer. Crazy. Most people say, "Oh, it's easy." No. It's not. It's not. You gotta really sit there. Like every time I got out of class, I studied even after I got out of class every day. Mm-hmm. And there's certain shit we had to do that's fucking hard. The hardest thing that we had to do wasn't even just like driving itself. It's having the mental fortitude to like go through the shit. Because to learn to drive a truck, the first week of class, you're inside. It's just like regular school. You're in there, you know, you got some little classes to figure out. It's cool. You little quizzes and shit. It's, oh yeah, this is cool. Second week, you out on the pad. They call it the pad is where all the trucks are at. You actually get to touch and start working on maneuvers.
Okay.
There ain't no rainy days on the pad.
No rain delays.
Ain't no rain delays. Ain't no snow days. Ain't no it's too cold to be out here. I've been out there for the last month, and you know it's been 20 to 30 degrees these mornings. I've been out there every fucking morning for a month from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. in 20, 30 degree weather. Rain, snow, whatever. Waiting on my turn to practice. Putting in my work, working out on them trucks. A lot of fools are not built for that.
How many people was in your class?
Usually around it was 9. It was 10 started. Then one dude dropped out because he was scared of the first test. So this guy, he just didn't show up and he ain't even called nobody. The school kept calling him and we called him. Hey, dude, where you going? He was too scared. Like it's the pressure, man. Like the pressure. The pressure. He knew he didn't have his shit. He just like, fuck it, I quit. He quit after the first 10 days. He lasted about 10 days because you start on a Monday and your first test is the following Tuesday. And the man didn't make it. So we had 9. We had 9 total people in my class. And, you know, there's guys in there who, and in the way it's taught is tricky too, which can make it challenging for some because it's not like college. Yeah. Everything you learned about learning in college don't apply to trucking. It don't. Like you go in college, they be like coddling you and talking to you like, you know, oh, don't worry about it. It's cool. Just come in after hours. We can. Not in trucking. You know, you fucking up in trucking is they banging on the door. Get out of my truck. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, you know, they got a CB in there. They be talking to you crazy. Where do you think you're going now? Huh?
Where do you think you going?
Why do you have that left turn in there? Why is your wheels turned to the left? That's not going to work. What do we tell you to do right now? Are you listening? You okay? Yo, truckers there ain't no politics. They'll talk to anybody any old kind of way. It's fucking refreshing. Dog, they busted my ass many days. I had days in there I ain't know my motherfucking right from my left. You have a bad day out there, boy, it'd be embarrassing, man. It'd be embarrassing. Teacher standing right next to the truck. Yeah, turn left. Put in the hard left. That means, you know, you turn your wheel as far as it'll go to your left. You know what I'm saying? Right. Then you start, you know, hit the gas. You wait, and then you do the next step. She was like, hard left. I was like, all right, I'm going hard right. Just like. She's just looking at me like. She just looks at the steering wheel. I'm like, oh, shit, my bad. I did this a whole day. Every fucking maneuver. I couldn't tell my right from my left some of these days, man. And this is not uncommon. Like, it's so much to think about because you're not driving the tractor. You're driving the trailer.
Yeah.
Everything is the fucking opposite. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a whole different thing. But to me, it's more intense or as intense as college was. because of the time and the way you have to deprogram your mind, how physically opposite it is, how you gotta. It's just different. It's different. It's not no easy shit.
Yeah.
You know. So, and I seen people get intimidated by it. People just scared to take. I mean, I never seen dudes scared to take tests in college.
Yeah.
Where they quit school over the first test. I never saw that. College, you just take the test. If you fail, you fail. If you pass, you make it up for the next one.
Right, right.
Not in trucking school, man. Motherfuckers.
You ain't got the time.
No. And then you got the additional pressure because there's a new class that starts every week. So you fall behind, somebody else is right behind you ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want to drop out, they not tripping. This motherfucker's right there next to you, 1 week behind you, doing the same maneuvers you doing. If you ain't catching on at a certain time, you run out of chances. You know, the testing there is very different, man. So yeah, it's just as difficult. It's not no punk shit. There's a reason why certain motherfuckers, there's a mental part of it, there's an intellectual part of it. And then there's just like certain slick shit you gotta do to win out there, man. I was pulling out every trick. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't fucking around. Like, I was like, I want this shit. I'm not about to go home. I'm not about to get this up, man. So, you know, it's for those who know, I ain't saying it's no shit that you can't do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person that believes that anytime you put 110% into something, you're going to be successful at it.
Right.
With 100% focus, it can be done. And it's not no shit that's like rocket science, but you better commit. If you don't commit, and if you don't, you know, get used to that environment very quickly, you're not going to make it.
Word. All right, well, let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Word. This is your weekly reminder that we have 2 books that you, as a listener or watcher of this podcast, need to absolutely own. The first is The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists, and the second is The Social Media Cheat Code. Both of these books were released within the last year. The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists is a book where I go through the stories and explain the traits that are behind the success of some of the biggest names in hip hop today. The book has got nothing but amazing feedback. And if you are an artist, business person, whatever you do, if you would like to be inspired and would like to learn more about hip hop along the way and also see some reinforcement of the concepts that we talk about on this podcast, The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop is for you. Second book is The Social Media Cheat Code. That is for everyone who listens to this podcast who does not consider themselves an expert or really good at social media. It's not for super experienced people. It's actually for people who are on social media but are not getting the results you need. So what we did is I broke down like 12 or 13 strategies that I use all the time that actually work really well for me. I put it into book. I gave you examples and I tell you how to implement it. That's a book you absolutely need as a listener to this podcast, watcher of this podcast. If you're on YouTube, supporting these books actually goes a long way towards supporting the podcast. So to support the show, if you like what we do, obviously we don't necessarily get paid to do this shit. So support the products and services that we create. And these 2 books are a big part of that. We appreciate your support, and back to the show. All right, folks, we're back. Super duty tough work. Printnificence, Illogic, talking about career pivots, you know, learning new things, giving yourself more options, things that we talk about on this podcast, and things that we actually are living in real time. And we hope that you all get some inspiration from this. And, you know, I took on Instagram, that anybody's following, remember just last year when I was learning how to make shirts and pants and all this other shit and the sewing and alterations. And, you know, you got to go where your interest lies and don't be afraid to learn new stuff. And this is kind of an extension of that. You know, it's never too late in life to learn something dope, especially if it helps you financially, which, you know, this has the definite possibility of that for me. So, you know, we'll continue with the show. Let's rock and roll, Mr. Illogic.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on a little bit, just, you know, some of the characters in your class, like any people in particular or interesting, like people that you met, you know, during this class.
Oh yeah. dog, it was a lot.
Any stories stick out?
Oh yeah. It's like high school kind of. You know what I mean? Like the level of funny stories that be happening in this joint, man. Like I text you about some of them, man, and like the very first week was just some of the funniest shit. Cause like, you know, this first test we had was like, it's called pre-trip inspection. Man, pre-trip inspection is basically a law. You have to learn how to inspect your vehicle. You know, your tractor and trailer, front to back, engine, cab, everything, test the brakes, all of it. You got to know how to do that. You got to know how to do this before they even let you touch the truck to drive. And so if you don't pass that, you can't move on to the next stage. So this was right when dudes start really feeling the pressure because they really only show you this shit like 3 or 4 days before you got a test on it. So they show you this shit. It's like 110 things. You got to be able to point out. You got to be able to say what condition they're in, right? And say so it's like, you know, like my alternator. This is anyone who knows trucking know this shit. So I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna. So it's like you got to be at a point to be like, oh, my alternator is securely mounted, not cracked or bent. You know, it's gear driven. It's belt driven. Its belt has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. The belt is not worn or frayed. Its wires are securely fastened on both ends with no exposed wires. You gotta say it just like that.
Okay. Okay.
And you gotta be able to. Now that's just one thing. You gotta do that for like 100 things. They give you like 3 or 4 days to learn this shit. So, you know, naturally, dudes are standing around this truck all day like, my dun, dun, dun. And, you know, it's just, we don't even know how to, dudes don't know a steering wheel from a fifth wheel. Dudes don't know a water pump from an alternator. You know what I mean? But you got to be able to point this thing out, say this condition, state the details of it, and be able to talk about it, right? In a specific format, or you'll fail this fucking test. And so, like, dudes is starting to feel the pressure. You know, I'm looking around, man. Brothers is like starting to fall apart a little bit. This is the first week. They're like, yeah, you're testing you Tuesday. Everybody's like, what? You know, every time the teacher would lead the class, this is not fair. Why do we have to test this? Let me just learn this. This is impossible. This never kept it. Like, dudes are falling apart now. I'm just over there like, hey, man, you know, it ain't shit, man. We gonna get it. You know, I ain't worried, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Now, so dudes is feeling the pressure. The first dude, so the test come the first day. And this is the first time where we outside on trucks. It's like 7:30 in the morning. It's still dark out there. It's mad cold. She tell us like, all right, today's the day. You know, we doing this test, you know. She said, who want to go first? I was like, I'll go first. Well, first of all, so she said, who want to go first? Everybody in the class except me stepped backwards and looked at the ground.
Hey, nobody want that heat. Nobody want smoke. Nobody.
I was like, I'll go first. She said, come on, Albert. So then she goes, gets my paperwork. She's like, let me go to office work and get your paperwork. You got to fill out before we take this test, you know, so you can sign off on your results, whatever. So I'm waiting at the truck, you know. I'm over there chilling. Then all of a sudden, everybody want to go first. Let me trade with you. Let me go first, man. Let me go instead, man. Some dude tried to go first. She said, you ain't the teacher of this class. You don't get to tell me who get to go first. Better go sit back down somewhere. This is how they be talking to you trucking school. He said he want to go first. He's going first. Go sit down. I call your name when it's time. You know? They talk to everybody like that. Dudes, they salty because they wanted to trade. I was like, nah, dude. Y'all had your chances to say y'all wanted to go first. You know what I'm saying? So because I knew whoever go first got the advantage. You know what I mean? Because maybe they sleepy, maybe they're not being as critical. You know, like they're not tired of hearing it. I was like, let me just go first, you know, and see how I do. I felt confident anyway. I was like, I know I'm passing this joint. I just, you know, let me just go first. So I go first. I get done. I get like a 97 on it. 97 out of 100, you know. And then I get done. And then everybody really wanted to go because then everybody realized that the whole test takes about 30, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got 10 people, 30, 40
yeah.
minutes. Some dudes had to wait till 4 o'clock in the evening. They was sitting out there
Right.
at 7:30 in the morning because they didn't want to go first.
Yeah, get done so you can, leave on time, go to lunch.
I'm walking around kicking it with the, hey, how you do, man? Hey, good job, It ain't so fun when you got to wait till the end of the day to do it. So at one point, it's like dudes is over there feeling the pressure. At one point, this was probably in about 11 o'clock. She's over there and we're sitting at this table off in the distance. The teacher walks up and she's like, everybody come here. And everybody like gathers around in a circle, and she's like, hold out your hands. And then everybody holds out their hands like this. We didn't even know what she was. We hold our hands and everybody starts looking. And then she points this dude's hand. She's like, you see that? And this dude got all these answers on his hands that he wrote to the free trip. His hands and arms is covered with answers. And she's like, you see that? Automatic fail. Go sit down.
Wow.
And then she just walks off and he's just like about to cry. He was sick. He was sick. I was like, oh, hell no. This is crazy as shit. Why'd you do that, man?
Oh.
Dog, it was the wildest shit. I ain't never seen no shit like that. She said, automatic fail.
He thought he was going to get away with that?
He thought he was going to get away with that. This motherfucker, let me tell you some other shit this fool did. Here's what I think happened. Because when I went up and I went on break, we went up there and I saw these little tiny notes written on a trailer in pen. This fool was so desperate to pass, he wrote little notes. Like if he couldn't remember what something was named, this motherfucker went up.
He wrote it on the trailer.
Right. And I think she saw that. And she's like, who the hell would write on my trailer? Came back and busted this dude, man. Dog, it was the wildest shit. The wildest shit. That was the first week. I was like, oh, this was the other guy who was studying information systems. He was feeling the pressure.
Really feeling the pressure.
Yeah. So it would be wild shit like that every day, man. It was like, I don't know, just like stuff that dudes would do, and just like the way that it was taught. The teachers was characters. Like the one teacher whose name is like Paulie. He teaches you like your inroad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is like 67 years old. And when you drive with him, you do like 4 hours. It'll be you and other students. It'll be 3 of y'all. You drive 2 hours. Other student drives 2 hours. This dude will be doing like straight up stand-up comedy the whole time you drive. Like on some Milton Berle, you know what I mean? Like it's just funny as shit, but it's more raw, like George Carlin shit.
Wow.
He'll be talking about crackheads. He said he just one time, he was like, I don't know how he got into it. He was like, yeah, I went to the bar the other day. I asked, he said, what do you want, boy? I said, shit, surprise me. He gave me a picture of my wife butt naked.
What? While y'all driving?
Yes, while you driving. You be losing it over there, man. Dog, imagine 2 hours of that.
Oh, man.
Hours of that, dog. He was the best. He make you feel so comfortable. You feel like you can't fail no test, man. You be in there with Paulie like. But the other driving teacher's the complete opposite. Like sarcastic,
serious
asshole. Yeah, this dude was like, I was like, which way you want me to turn, left or right up here? He's like, we might as well go right. You've been dragging your trailer in that train for a whole mile now. You're damn near in the lane already. Yeah, turn right.
Oh, man. Wow.
What do you even say? You can't even say nothing. Turn right.
That's crazy.
Dog, he would talk to you like this for 2 hours at a time. He never said a positive word about my drive.
That's cool. That's wild.
The first day he was like, me and this dude Nelson was in there. He was like, I mean, look, y'all drive good enough to pass the test, but that's about it.
Damn.
What's that saying? Yeah, go ahead. What was you gonna say?
That's crazy. Well, one thing that you noted on your post about the cultural makeup of the class, like, did that teach you anything, or did that, as far as like the cultural makeup, what did you learn just from the the different people in the different cultures, and how their approach to this driving thing, why they were in the class, shit like that.
You know what? It made me think a lot of things. One of the things is that, like, Americans have bought too much into the college education system, right? Like, college is marketed to us as like this thing that guarantees you to have a bright future, guarantees you to have a job and to make money. And we know you got a degree, I got a degree. That's not necessarily the case, right? We know people, and we studied things that were in demand.
Right.
95% of our friends, that's not the case.
Right.
95% of those degrees are not necessarily in demand. And they're expensive.
Yes.
What being around like that group of students, like every class was made up like mine, where there was really only 1 or 2 African Americans in the whole class. The rest of them were not natural born citizens, immigrants, And so it was like seeing how practical they were, because they didn't buy into the programming that we buy into. This is why you see a lot of immigrants in the trades. You know what I'm saying? You see them because they are just like, it's very simple to them. It's like, okay, I could spend $100,000 on a degree and make $40,000. Or I could spend $5,000 on a CDL and make 60 or 70. What are you going to do? And be guaranteed employment.
Right.
4 weeks or 4 years.
You spend $100,000, you spend $100,000, you're not guaranteed a job.
No. 4 weeks versus 4 years.
Yeah.
Very practical decision. Most people won't do it in America because in America, man, we really care about being seen.
Mm-hmm.
People come to this country, they don't care about that other stuff. They truly, truly see the opportunity that's there. And it ain't all about the glamour and the glitz and the social media followers and the high profile, sexy jobs. They want to build a better life for their family as quickly as possible. And so the trades to them make the most sense. And that's something I wish more of us would see.
Yeah.
I wish we would see that more. Over there, it's just different, man. Like, dudes in my class were like, my guy Steven, he was like, yo, because the first day of class, they asked, okay, what brings you here? What got inspired you to get here? He said, when I first came to this, he's from Liberia. He said, when I first came to this country, my dream was to be a truck driver. My dream. I said, I want to be a truck driver. I dream of that job. He said, but my wife wouldn't let me. He said, because she thought it was too dangerous, and our kids was still young. He said, so our kids are older. Truck driver pay has jumped up significantly. He said, my wife was like, Steven, go follow your dream. Go get that money.
Go get that bag.
Right.
Get that bag, baby.
And so he was a school bus driver in New York City. And so he moved here, and then he was like, was driving Uber. He was like, I want to drive a truck. And he finally got to do it. But you get to really see that it really reminds you, man, of like what's important. Because sometimes for us, man, we be around artists so much. We don't be around blue collar people.
Yeah.
And we don't be around people who think much more practically and not so much through the artistic lens.
Yeah, and society kind of looks down on those kind of.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see TV shows about truck drivers like that. You don't see, like, everything is, so shiny.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And we don't see anything that's, any of the grunt work that goes into a lot of the, just everyday shit.
Yes.
And the everyday shit is the shit that keeps our society, our economy, all of that is what keeps that going. And, but we look down on that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that someone, outside of this country would look at that as a prestigious position.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
Yeah, they're so practical. They're just like, dude. And it just really, really reminded me, like, yo, man, we gotta get out of that. We gotta get out of that. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to share this, because I know that as artists, there's this perception with us and with people who know of us, who mess with us, that, that working a job is something to be ashamed of if you call yourself an artist. That if you can't pay your bills completely off art, then you're a failure. If you had to work while you made that record, then the art don't count as much. We tell ourselves this stuff, and sometimes we listen to people who say this stuff, and they shame people who have regular jobs or good skilled labor jobs, essential jobs. They're not seen as like heroes or looked upon favorably. I think it's bullshit. Like all of us. Look, my mom's and my pops work those kind of jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
How the fuck I'm looking down on that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my dad retired from UPS. Union, Teamster. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? You've been out here where I live. It's nothing but factories and logistics and shit out here. Nothing but trucking companies and warehouses and factories out here. And so I've been around it my whole life. So I never looked down on it like that. I will admit that like the college thing does influence us, to go that route. And I get it. Get a degree, get educated. But my thought is like, be practical. Don't go down that route, because college is expensive and there are other ways and other careers to make money that ain't got nothing to do with, with college.
Yeah. That's one of the things I try to, I've tried to talk to my kids about, like just letting them know if you don't want to go to college, it's fine. There's other ways, to get where you want to go. I mean, my dad was an electrician.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing is this was in the 90s and late 80s, like he was making $100,000 a year as an electrician.
Right.
And this was, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's big money.
That's big money then compared to, where things are now. So I've seen the fact that you could, be in that position. But, it's something that our parents and a lot of parents, go to college, because they had in their minds too, growing up, that the people who went to college had the better jobs.
Right.
The people who went to college made the most money. And honestly, that was probably the case when they were younger.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? When they were coming up, being a plumber probably didn't make as much money as being somebody who worked with computers back then, because it wasn't as much in demand and it was something that was more specialized.
Yeah.
Now,
so
now it's, everybody and their mama know about a computer. Your teenager could fix a computer. You know what I mean?
He can code. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's different now, man. It is. And it's like, what people have to really understand is like, there's certain jobs that are going to always be in demand.
Always.
Years ago, maybe, I remember, I think it was after I took that time off to make Adventures in Counterculture, where I was really just going heavy into music. And I wasn't really touring as much, like for 2-3 years. I remember after that saying, if I ever have a period like this again, or I'm just home for a year, 2 years, 3 years, I'm going to study a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to come out of that time period with just an album. I want to come out of that with a skill, and then doing the real estate things and being exposed to those different fields from that really reinforced that. So I always had it in my mind. This is since like 2010, 2011. I was like, no, next time I have one of these periods off, if I'm fortunate to have one where I ain't touring every year, that's what I'm going to do. And so I had been looking into stuff like this before. Electrician was definitely at the top of my list, HVAC, plumbing, all of that stuff, drywall. I wanted to learn all of it, carpentry. I was like, I'm going to pick one of these and go in, and then it just so happened that this kind of worked itself, popped up, and have the friends who do it who kind of sat me down. So I went this route, but I never looked down on it. I never looked at it like, it's not feasible. In fact, just like, when you paying these fools, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like when you doing real estate, you paying contractors, you paying plumbers.
Yeah.
You know
what you paying them.
Yeah, I'm like, damn. This man making this much every time he do this for me? Ugh. That's some good money.
Right. How many clients he got?
Right.
Shoot.
Oh, you gonna go do 3 of these today? God damn. I'm hurting just paying you for one. This man is getting it. How much is the HVAC again for them to put in? How much an hour? 150? 200? Oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew. From the other side, these fools is getting paid. And you can't go around them. You need them. So, that was always my thing, man. So, yeah.
All right, let's take another break and we'll finish this up.
Okay. Be right back. Quick announcement. Over the last several years, we've been asked many times by the listeners of the show if we would ever open it up to the public for advertising. We've always been interested in this, but we never had the systems in place to make it work properly. I'm proud to announce that we are officially accepting advertising from the public on Super Duty Tough Work. Meaning, if you're a small business owner or an artist and you'd like to create more awareness about your product, service, or release on the Super Duty Tough Work podcast, we're now in a position to do that. For more information, email us at superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Again, that's superdutytoughwork@weightless.net. Email us there. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you would like to promote, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to let you know if we think it's a good fit and what the next steps are. Thank you for your time. Back to the show. All right, folks, we're back. Super Duty Tough Work. Blueprint, Illogic. Talk about career pivots, learning new things, picking up new skills, college degrees versus trades, things of that nature. And we shall continue.
All right, let's finish this up. Okay, so you kind of touched on this, but I want you to kind of go a little more in depth. What do you think is the most important thing that you learned in this process that had nothing to do with driving?
Had nothing to do with driving. That's a great question, man. Let me think. I think the biggest thing I learned that has nothing to do with driving is probably just about learning how to learn. Like we talk about it on this podcast a lot, and every time we do something, like I've done movies, I've written books, obviously the albums and stuff, things of that nature, and sewing alterations. I think that there's something that is to be said about learning how to learn. Learning how to learn is the most important skill you'll ever have. And that means you have to have a systematic way to learn new things. You have to develop it in a way to where you can actually move forward, know what you need to study, and get better, right? And so during this process of, and I had to learn that through this. I mean, I've known it, but I had to learn how to apply it to this, I should say. So, for example, there was points where I was struggling due to the things I was telling you. It's opposite of everything I know, and I'm just like hesitant, and I'm not trusting it. You know what I'm saying? The teacher told me to do something, I'm doing it, but I'm not trusting it. I'm not figuring it out myself, and I'm making mistakes that are causing me to have errors. So like say there's a drill called the offset, backing maneuver, where you basically are in one parking spot, you have to pull all the way up, and you have to back the truck into the one next to it. Now, in a car, this would be easy. You pull up, you just back into that bitch. But in a tractor, into a trailer, it's difficult because you got to know how to, you're moving your trailer into there. And then so they give you like 4 or 5 steps. But in between all of these steps, but even doing those steps, you can still mess it up. There's so many other variables. Like if you hold the steering wheel too long, that's a problem. If you put in a turn too far, your angle can be messed up. If you don't start turning on one thing soon enough, and then I was mentioned to you one time that like the trailer kind of has a mind of its own. Mm-hmm. It's not like if you go back on a car, your car is gonna go straight back. Trucks and trailers don't work that way. Like the trailer will just kind of shift randomly to the left, randomly to the right. It just kind of has a mind of its own. And then you have the contour of the ground, all that matters. I had to learn to identify all my mistakes. Mm-hmm. So any day I made the same mistake multiple times, I would get home and I would write it down. So I had this error one day where I would have my shit lined up perfectly to go in between these two cones. And everybody in class would be like, yo, that's the perfect setup, man. Good job. And they would walk away as if me putting it in the box was a foregone conclusion just because I had it lined up perfectly. But I had a problem, they call it keeping my truck and my trailer straight. So as I'm backing up, my trailer's kind of doing this or doing that, and I'm not fast enough to correct it. Next thing you know, my perfect setup is ruined. Mm-hmm. And I got to spend another 10 minutes fixing that just to put it in the box. I had 3 or 4 of those things every day. So I had a whiteboard at the home where I would go home and I would write down what I struggled with. And all I tried to do every day, I was like, yo, if you fix one of these things every day, you know what I mean? Another error I had was, like I said, confusing my right from my left. Mm-hmm. Sounds simple.
Right.
This is your left. This is right. How do you fuck that up? You can fuck it up. Trust me. Especially when you're trying to do the opposite. Mm-hmm. When turning right makes the trailer go left, it's easy to fuck up your right and your left.
Yeah.
You know? And so I had days where I did that. I had days where like I would overturn. They would tell me to turn the wheel one time. I would turn it all the way. Mm-hmm. All of these things would make things wrong. I had times when I would have a bad setup and I would force it. Instead of being like, let me fix this, I'd be like, nah, I'm just going to force it in there. I'm going to keep going because I didn't know how to fix it. All of these are little things that if you don't know how to identify them and work on them every day, you'll never get better. And that's why I say learning how to learn is the most important thing, because learning how to learn I did and all these other things helped me, because when I would mess something up, the first thing I would do is I would ask my instructors, where did it go wrong? What did I do wrong? How do I fix that? They would say, well, the problem is you didn't keep your truck and trailer straight. So by the time you got to the box, it was all out of control. And I'd be like, oh, and you messed up a perfect setup. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. You hear that enough, or where did I go wrong? Well, you overturned right here. Your angle's bad. You had a bad angle and you didn't fix it. You just let this bad angle go until you got to the box. And by then, you wasn't even pointing at the box no more. Okay. So little things like that, you have to be willing to listen, but you have to be willing to make yourself accountable, and learning how to learn is the biggest thing I'd say, because had I not been so honest with myself, it's easy to get frustrated. And I had to that one of my best friends in the class, I had to explain this to him. He'd be like, man, he said, how do you not get frustrated about, these mistakes and I feel overwhelmed. I said, the only reason you feel overwhelmed is because you haven't like written it down. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, you're making the same mistake every time you get a good setup, just like I was. You know what I'm saying? I said, all you have to do, don't worry about being perfect at everything. I said, the next 2 or 3 times you go, just fix that. I said, eventually you fix these little holes. Eventually you don't have no more holes in your game.
Right.
And then your chances of success increase. And that's all I did, which is why it took me longer to kind of get, like, we were 3 weeks in, almost into our 4th week before I started really driving good. Mm-hmm. The other times, I would have times where I would be out there just completely lost. Like, the professors they had to hit me on the CB like, yeah, man, you in trouble out there, ain't you? Yeah.
You good, Albert? You good?
Because like this thing, there's like an area where you do the maneuver at, and then there's like this area out there just in space where if you're at the wrong angle and you messed up, you got to pull up here and correct. I call this area like no man's land. So the good drivers can pull up in there real efficiently, one turn here, one turn back, straighten the truck, then go back to their shit with the perfect angle. I would be way deep out in no man's land, just lost. Couldn't even see the cones that I was trying. They were like, we know you can't see the cones. We looking at your truck right now. Like, you lost, ain't Yes, I am. Okay. Do this. Okay, now do this again. Now do that. Okay, now what you see? Okay, I see the code. Okay, now come on back in and start again. It was dog. But this whole process could take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So you just out there just lost in the sauce. Just,
yeah.
But I was trying to find my way through and learn, like, how do I not compound my situations with my mistakes? And every day, if I'm making the same mistakes, write it down, be accountable, and focus on that. And eventually, you won't make those same mistakes, and then you won't be afraid if you make a mistake. So
yeah, because it seems like that's a good lesson to learn just in general. Is don't be afraid to make a mistake, but if you make a mistake, make sure that you pinpoint it so you can fix it and don't make that mistake again.
Yes. Because like I had a mistake where, so, you be out in limbo, right? Way far away from where you're supposed to be putting the boxes, just looking crazy to the whole class. And everybody has this shit. I used to call it like being stuck in the Matrix. So you be in the Matrix, losing track of time and space because you can't see the cones. You don't know where you at. And it's this big ass, you just lost. And sometimes, man, what the thing that kind of helps you get it is like, I realize that, okay, my problem is that I'm just compounding my problems because I haven't fixed the original problems. And I'm afraid to do the things that will fix it immediately. Right? So there's guys in my class who, like I said, if you're trying to put a truck in between here, right? You can just back right into that, right? But what if your truck is a little bit closer here, closer to this cone? What you can do, you can just pull back at an angle and just correct as you get in, right? But some guys are so afraid of the straight line. They're afraid of that. So they'll pull up here. They'll keep pulling up, trying to straighten the truck out. Pull up again, straighten out until it's perfect. Then they'll back in, hoping that it's perfect. But the problem is when you test, you don't get to pull up that many times. You get 2 pull-ups. So the rules work against you doing that. Or else you can't pass the test. But then you become afraid to do certain maneuvers because you never fixed the problem.
Yeah.
So I was just like, once I figured that, I'm like, yo, I'm just going to do the shit. I'm not afraid to make a mistake out here. The teacher's going to look at me like I'm crazy a lot of the times because when it goes bad, it goes really bad. But I never, once I figured out what I did wrong, I never made those mistakes again. And so by my 4th week driving, I was one of the best drivers in our class. And when it came time to tests, I'm testing with making 0 mistakes on the hardest maneuvers. And dudes in my class are even shocked, like, how the fuck did you put the 90 in the box like that with no mistakes? And like, I made all my mistakes already.
Yeah.
While y'all was being perfect, I was writing down what I was doing wrong. Looking crazy, but by the time test came, and then on the test, they'd be like, man, I was so nervous. I was nervous. I wasn't nervous because I had already been embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got this. So on my CDL test, it was like I had a setup that was bad. And I was like, ooh, this is bad. And I knew, like, okay, you can either fix it now, you can force it, but you got to know how to fix it. I was like, yeah, I've done this 50 times. I done been in this bad setup 50 times already. So I just, one turn, perfect. Backed it up, put it in a fucking box with ease. Whereas a lot of people, they panic. They never had no bad setup. They don't know. They ain't been out in no man's land for 20 minutes trying to find their way back home. I've been there so much. I was like, this ain't shit. I'll figure it out, man. But and when it came time to test, one of my classmates said this shit to me. The first test we had was called our eval test on the maneuvers, right? And they got this thing called the 90, the 90-degree parking backing thing where you got to back into a space that's 90 degrees away. So you got to go here and put the thing into a box at 90 degrees. Everyone fears the 90. New students fear the 90. And so everyone's hoping that they got the other one, which was the parallel parking instead. So somehow I get the 90 after on my test, the big test. And that same day, a bunch of dudes was taking it on their CDL test. And they got the 90 as well. So we're sitting there watching these dudes come for their CDL tests. and die on the 90. They couldn't pass the 90 and they got sent home. Like, sorry, you failed your CDL test. You can't put it in a box. And so I got the 90 and I just put it in a box after having never put it in a box in practice by myself. But during that time, I was figuring things out. I kind of knew I could put it in a box. If my professors would have just let me cook. I was like, okay, I got this. Just let me cook on this. I can put this in a motherfucking box. And one of my classmates, then I did it again on my CDL test. And one of my classmates came, he said, now I understand what you was doing. This is the other computer science guy. He said, at first I thought I was watching how you would be making all these mistakes in practice. And you would be all these in these weird, difficult positions. And we know you can drive. Mm-hmm. He said, but you would be just out there looking crazy sometimes. He said, but now I get it. You was making all your mistakes over there. Mm-hmm. He said, you was finding all these ways you was testing the boundaries. And he said, so now when it's time to test, you're not even slightly scared.
Right.
He said, you made all mistakes. And this is how you take tests better than all of us because you was over here fucking up the most.
Yeah.
I'm like, now you get it.
Yeah, that's the real, man. That's the real. Because when you out there on the edge, you take it to the edge.
Yeah.
That way, all right, now I know where my boundaries are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now I know where the limits are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you'll never be able to do that in the real world.
Right. Exactly. You fuck up in practice. That's when you're supposed to mess up the most. Exactly. That's when you're supposed to mess up. You can't mess up when you out there hauling, 1,000 pounds.
Exactly.
And there's traffic all around you. Yes. You don't want to mess up then.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. Yeah. So he was the only one who really got it. I was like, now you see what I've been doing out here for all these weeks. Why I wasn't the best driver, but I just had to learn my way, man. So learning how to learn, I think, is the most important thing.
Okay. Now, last question. So, and I'm sure this is what the cats really want to know. So what does this mean for the music career? Anything different? Anything changing? Like, what does this mean as far as, Printmatic going forward?
It don't mean shit. It don't mean shit. Look, man, we say this and we've been saying this forever, man. We ain't never going to retire from music, man.
Right.
Like,
right.
we might, I want to be dropping records when I'm in a nursing home. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me bring my laptop and my MIDI controller and give me a stack of records and a record player when I'm in a nursing home and I'm good. I'll do this shit forever because it brings me joy. I don't think it's going to have no real impact on my shit because what people don't understand is like, I have the time to do, to work another job and still have a high output. Mm-hmm. All I've done for the last 2 years is music.
Yeah.
I got so much music sitting around that like once I start dropping music, which is going to be very soon, I could be dropping it for 1.5 years, 2 years straight. No one will
without doing nothing new.
Nothing new.
Yeah.
People don't think, he must have been, I'm sitting on that many records. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just due to this COVID stuff. So to me, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything because look, we talked about it before. 8 million stories, Celestial Clockwork, I was working, you know what I mean? Like all these Unlimited EP, like all these records was done when I was working. I've always, it's not like I need to be sitting here full time to know how to do this shit. I know how to do this shit. And if anything, I think it should actually make shit better.
Yeah.
Because the immense pressure that is on artists like me full time to make money off this shit can be very, paralyzing to some. You sitting here and everything is riding just on this.
Right.
That's a lot of pressure that some people will never understand.
Yeah, if this record don't pop, I don't know if I can pay my bills next month.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Next year. You know what I mean?
They can get, exactly. Like if I don't get this record out, I mean, we're in a position now, and this is what really made me do it. You and I had this conversation. I don't think we ever said it on the air, but there was a point where I realized that due to the manufacturing problems with vinyl, which are looking at 8 months to a year right now, I was like, and I was trying to put out a big record this fall, found out I couldn't due to the turnaround times on vinyl, and I'm like, so not only will I not be able to tour, I won't be able to put out a real record on vinyl, which is what does the best for me. And it'll be a year, 8 months to a year. I was like, I can literally get my CDL, turn in my record, work for 6 months, 8 months, my record will just now be coming back from vinyl. I could literally be a year into this thing and waiting on that, and nothing really changes. It's like, I'm not missing shit.
Right.
Ain't nobody touring like that.
Right.
Shit still not at our level. Like the super big artists are doing well, but the mid-tier and lower tier artists, small room artists, we're not out here doing 60-day tours no more.
Yeah, facts.
Nobody's doing those right now because the demand is not there. And the records take so long to turn around right now due to all this other shit that it's like, well, shit, man. Nothing really changes. Because I was, you know, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and the thing is, for us, something that we also talk about offline, is that we've gotten our operations to a point where a lot of shit is automated.
Yes.
So we don't have to sit at the computer, you know, all day. Like, we can take trips, we can go out of town.
Yep.
And cats wondering how we still posting. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like,
because we've done things to put ourselves in positions. Because, you know, like we said, I'm starting a job as well, but nothing's really going to change.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because I've gotten myself into a position where I understand how to automate things and how to put things in a position where I cannot be on social media for a week or two, but I'm posting still the same, just like I am. You know?
Exactly. And that's all I've been doing the last month. You know what I'm saying? Last month, that's all I've been doing. I still been dropping content. You know, we still been dropping the podcast because we know how to create the content now. That part is easy for us. You know, we're just in a time where we got to do some other things if we want to create the best environment for our art. And I'm not about to, like, I don't want to sit here and be mad at the game, you know. That is a consequence that happens when you force this shit.
Yeah.
You know, you end up mad at the game. You end up mad at your art. I'm going to be mad at my fans. Oh, I had to get a job because y'all didn't buy enough. Man, the game is the game. You know, I accept it for what the fuck it is. And I'm not going to be mad at it because I know that's going to impact my love for doing this shit. So I just do whatever is necessary. And it's not like I don't have a plan, you know. Like there's plans involved in this that, you know, in a year after working, I should be in a very good position to make another move. So it's like the sooner I can get that done, the better. And I wasn't dropping no records anyway. So it's like, even, you know, I was like, well, my hands are tied.
Yeah, might as well do something.
Yeah, what I've been sitting here for a year. I could have started this at the beginning of the year.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's just, I don't think anything will necessarily change because, like we said, we know how to create content. We know how to make the records. We have so much music that's been done already. And I don't think anything will change in the same way that, you know, I've been in school for 10 hours a day, you know what I'm saying, for the last month, and we still dropping podcasts.
Yeah.
Records and music will still continue to come out, you know, and if you know, I'm working. So it ain't really no difference to me. It's just, how do you manage your time?
Right. That's the main thing, is just time management. I think also, you know, just last thought, having a job is something we talked about on the job episode. Having a job also makes you focus a little more. It makes you like really pay attention to how you're spending your time, especially, you know, having the music as the other thing, you know, having the job as the other thing. Like, it really makes you focus on how you use your time, and you're a little more appreciative.
Yeah.
And you're more efficient.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, with your time. So I think in the long run it'll make it better.
Absolutely. And you know, and this thing here, like this music thing, this whole thing, I'm not at the point where this don't make me nothing. I'm not like I'm chased out the game, my records don't sell. I'm not at that point. I don't want to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? I want to make a move now. Excuse me. I want to make a move now so where everything that we do with this whole thing that I do with Waitlist, this becomes a strong ass addition to anything else I have.
Right.
Because when you take the two things, you put them together, now you cooking. Mm-hmm. One by itself is not getting me everything that I want anymore.
Right.
And so I need to bust a move that allows me to do everything I want. But I haven't lost anything over here. It ain't like I've dropped a whack record and ain't nobody fucking with me.
Right.
I can't get music out. I can't tour. It's not my fault. You know what I'm saying? This just is what it is. And so, you know, in the interim, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to make the most of it. And I think it'll ultimately be good for the art and for everything moving forward, because the art is still right there waiting to drop, you know?
Word.
So that's it.
Word. Well, that's it. That's it, man.
Yeah. I hope y'all got something out of this, people at home, you know? I hope, you know, I know we got a lot of artists who listen to us. And, you know, some people say, oh, damn, you know, I can't believe it. But it's being practical is, I think, what's most important right now. We don't want none of y'all to fall into this trap where you believe that, you know, you got to be doing something full time to make an impact at it. You know, it's all about how you manage your time, doing what you do to the best of your ability. And if you do that, whether you do it full time, part time, you know, otherwise, you're going to be in a greater position because of it. You know, you can be doing it full time, have all day, not do shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's not good either. And so the most important thing is that you are taking care of yourself, your business, your family, you know, everything. And sometimes art can do that. And sometimes you need something in addition to the art to do that. And, you know, I hope that this inspires many people out there. I know this is a tough conversation for some people to have, though. The goal is to win, not to look like I'm winning.
Right.
So that's it for this week.
Word.
See y'all next week.
Word up. Peace. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Super Duty Tough Work. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Follow the podcast on SoundCloud. Peace.
Shoot, I got styles already that's more complex that nobody know about. I mean, super duty tough work.